so people understand what good comedy is, and you can get fans. So I think there's a ton of potential for that, and it's not as bad. It's just those people that it's like they'll go out of their way to be like I remember one guy so specifically that's like, hey man, so cool that you just go up there and embarrass yourself like that.
Welcome back to Show Me Yours podcast, everybody.
I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Jonny DeVito.
Everybody! And I'm Ty Wasson.
Yeah,
who we got in the studio today?
Oh, my goodness. We have the man, not a myth nor a legend. We got the real deal in the house. Chris Griffin, everybody.
Let's go! Hell yeah,
dude. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Right on, man. Yeah, came off the road from a terrible gig. Do you want to?
At the top of the mountain. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, terrible. It was the best.
Very grateful.
An hour and a half late. Just driving in traffic. Yeah, just a corporate gig. So
hell yeah.
You know how those go.
We don't.
We wish. That's,
we're working on our way.
Flattered.
Actually, Chris, we do not.
It's funny. I'm like, finally, we got a real comic in the house, everybody.
Just imagine spending like the years you guys spend to craft your perfect jokes and then going to a show where you can't use any.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, real quick, off the top, we got to say, because we had a cool little road trip toury thing, and you, sir, were a huge part of vouching for us in Cowtown, which you did not have to do that, nor did we even ask, which was unbelievable to us. So it really helped us out, man. And that was like really the coolest shit ever. It's always really cool when someone who's so much fucking better than us does something like that. So we do appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, Alberta's got like those they always have cool rooms and stuff. So
we had so much goddamn fun.
I saw the light there. Me and Jackie, we got the first when we started to kind of get off to a good start. You know how I'm kind of peaks and valleys as far as getting spots, and there's no club here, so it's all book shows or bar shows and whatnot. So we're doing everything that we can to work as much as we can. Then you kind of naturally start your own room and stuff. So we're doing kits and struggling and working hard. In the back of my head, I'm like, this shit is working, right? Like it's gonna pop somewhere. And then we get to Calgary, and I'm like, I am the greatest comedian.
They love me.
Something about just like blue collar shit talking or whatever. They're like, this guy turns a wrench, we'll listen to him or whatever. And I didn't want to leave. You
can get away with a bit more there. It's just a different vibe.
Yeah,
I dig it. Yeah,
super
the
fun.
Vancouver's like so much better.
Yeah, they are legit. Anywhere in the world's better than Vancouver, and everyone will say that. Any comic that comes from anywhere else.
Yeah, it's not. That's the thing. It's like every like people just mention it on stage now, like how late people come to fucking shows. Like it's like the common thing that everyone always bitches about. Like, oh yeah, that town just doesn't give a fuck about being on time or
like how slow. Like they're kind of like a comic will go up, smash, and then other crowds anywhere in the world will be like, oh, this is a good show. Next one's, but they just reset back to like, let's see this next guy.
This fucking guy.
But then when everybody's got a Vancouver, it's like the most rewarding. Like when you're crushing, you're like, wow, I have earned this. So it's a great place to get good, but it can be sad.
It was like that was the best part of going on tour is like having going outside of Vancouver and being like, oh, okay, like this shit is actually like really good, not just like pretty good sometimes.
Definitely. Like, it's competitive here. There's a lot of good comics and stuff, so you can like stack up to. Like if you want to get to a level, then you can kind of see people perform. You know what I mean? At that level that you want to be at, right? But it's funny because as we're starting to kind of see the light was like if you just go to like Burnaby or Coquitlam, we started a show out there and they fucking thanked us for being there.
Going out into the communities.
You could do anything and they're eating it up, and you know what I mean. It was
real talk though. Coquitlam almost as far as Calgary, I feel like. It's out there.
Especially when you're driving back having a terrible allergic reaction. I was like dying, but I had to drive us back because I don't know.
Dude,
it was like something in the beer.
Hold on, Jackie. Hold on.
Well, it's something in the beer.
You do know.
It's something in the beer for sure, but I don't know what specifically.
She went and had an allergic reaction one time, and then she went back and was like, I'll have the same beer.
Well, I just think it was the beer. During the show, and I was hosting.
Dude, the first time I drove her to the hospital, I was like,
literally you held it together so well.
That's how I live life, never learning lessons. Again, the exact thing happened. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening again. I've been saying that like the weed, shit-faced drunk at a show a couple weeks ago, and the ruthless Ravi Khan is fucking just pouring Fireball, which nobody should fucking drink, right? But before that, we haven't been out to dinner in a long time, so we're like, I'm smashing cocktails and then warm beers at the show, and then Fireball, and then I go home and I figure like I'm just gonna have a nightcap because I'm feeling great and I'm not doing the math in my head.
Yeah,
and Jackie asked me if I was like spinning when I went to bed, and I just lied to her. And I was like, "No, I'm just drunk."
I'm just gonna go downstairs for a second.
Projectile vomited like I haven't in years, and I thought that I'd like learned the ways. You know what I mean? I drink pretty regularly, and I kind of I know how to operate in that system. Like as far as like pretty functioning alcoholics are concerned, you hate to say it, but come on, right? Let's call a spade a spade. My fucking God, I don't know if I can. Like if I can ever like right that ship, because I think what it comes down to is not like learning a lesson. It's that I like fun more than I'm afraid of the consequence.
Yeah, I've literally like been like, man, I wonder if I could make a spreadsheet of like the exact amount of drinks you could have, especially once your tolerance starts going up. Totally. On, like day 2 of the bender. To like just ride that line.
That'd be great if you just bust out Excel before you
step
at the bar.
Input the numbers.
Can I take your order? Well, hold on.
I just picture you just pulling out blueprints at a bar table. Like, wait a minute, I got schematics.
But then I need like a wristband thing that electrocutes you if you're going beyond.
That's great. Yeah, because that technology exists. So like they should be able to tie that together. That's an app.
Yeah,
right.
App. Why isn't that for sale for like commercial use?
Yeah. Because like I'll fall into like the whirlpool of fun. Like as soon as like I see it happening,
fun is the best.
I'll dive right in the middle of that motherfucker, right? Just to get down there quicker. And I feel like when it comes to just like casual drinking at 32, I'm just like still at a level that like none of my friends are keeping up to me of the level that I'm just like, I'm just hanging out, we're just having a couple drinks. It's fucking Wednesday.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean, right? I'll deal with it in the morning, but I've been sending Jackie some very depressed text messages at 8 a.m. wishing that the car would have crashed on the way to work. Just
the car that I'm driving.
Yeah.
Okay. She drives me. It's not even in it. What?
You just talk about her job.
I wish you would have crashed your car on the way.
If you could do us all a fucking favor.
I legit remember doing posts like just being like, oh, one of those mornings where you just want to jump in front of the SkyTrain and just be like, wow, like fuck. But yeah, I think 32, 33, you get away with it for a few more years, and it's like 38 where just it becomes like impossible. Like you're like, what the fuck? I can't manage this at all.
Do you ride the line? Are you still having fun? Like as far as is it show drinks or? Do you still go over the edge every once in a while?
Yeah, this summer I went pretty hard over. So I last year did like ayahuasca, then I did which that kind of helped me. Cool. So I went like quite a few.
The reset.
Like 5 months without, but I did some where before going and stuff. And then I was
did you do it with the idea that maybe I'm gonna like slow down what I'm doing, or did it just kind of have that effect on you?
Yeah, I think it just did. I mean, that was definitely like you're supposed to be mindful of all the stuff you're going through. So that was one of them where I was like, like I wouldn't mind if that was just something that came out of it. And then it was funny because I did really well. And then when I came out, I was like, oh, I just don't need to drink. And I went 5 months I think 100 days or something like that. And then had like a drink on my 100th day with my friends. And I was like, oh, like didn't need any more. And then I kind of went another 2 months after that. Same, like I'd always just have one. And then I just like went on a really fun road trip and fell like, instantly back into like 10,000 drinks. But then Sophia was funny because I'd recorded a podcast when I was like sober, my wife, and then I was like, talking about like, I don't need that second drink, but it didn't air till a month later. But in that month was like, she's like, you're a hypocrite. Like you went on when I recorded it, I believed that. But
I was being honest in the moment.
It's a slippery slope.
Baby.
Right
timestamps exist for a reason. Come on.
I know. So, but yeah, now I think I'm day 50 of like not, having any. I like had half a drink at one point when I saw some like cousins.
That's tough to do after a corporate, as you describe it.
Right.
I mean, doing that corporate dead sober, because it's open bar, so usually that's fun of it. It's smashed and whatever, try to get through it. But
you treat it like a shitty wedding.
It is.
God, I hate these people. But there's an open bar.
How are you treated? Are you kind of like just like the entertainment or the help? They just kind of like leave you alone until it's showtime or whatever, right? Or are they kind of like would they want to party with you?
Yeah, they usually before the show they're pretty like that's the mentality generally. Sometimes even in Canada, in the way people treat comics is like they're like, oh, we hired you, so
Yeah.
you know, and corporates are especially like that. They're like, we're a crazy company, and you're like, you fuck off, man. But in this, I think in this, oh, it's awful. But in this,
We like comedy.
yeah,
We can handle it.
Yeah.
I know. But then they're also like, we're gonna go tell some speeches before, and you're just like,
Oh no.
But
I've been known to be pretty funny.
Yeah. Try and follow this one, pal.
Well, it's an ego boost. I have a Christmas party coming up on the 3rd, and you can tell that like it's the owner's just like chance just to flex right now, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't take the spot if they offered it to me.
I'm pretty sure you
I
would. Yeah,
100%
yeah.
you would
I was
take
like,
that
are you
spot.
kidding me?
But I mean, that's fucking a bunch of plumbers and shit. They'd be getting shit faced, right? It'd be a
yeah,
little bit of a
I
different
know
vibe,
there are fun. I've done some like incredibly fun corporates, and I think it's like getting in the right mindset. And there's different ones for different types of people too, because there's people that just love corporates, like clean, easy shows, and then there's like I did one on like a party yacht for a tech company, best time ever. Like it was just like open bar, everyone was smashed. Like,
Hell yeah.
yeah, it was like super fun. So there are good ones, but yeah, I find like in America where I think like stand up really like originated more or less. Like there's like the UK has a good scene too, but they just appreciate the art so differently. So like even when I do any shows there, after people are like, I can't believe I got to talk to you after the show. Whereas like in small town Alberta, they're like, yeah, we came here to fucking make fun of you, dude. Like, we all got drunk today. We're like, how, like, it's a different thing. It's like,
It was a weird
wow.
vibe last night after Jackie's hosting all weekend or whatever, and I jumped on a guest spot. When I came up, there was like this dude that kind of like sunned me a little bit, right? Like, good job, bud. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh, dude,
yeah, it was a weird power position. Like I was there to fucking entertain you. Like, yeah, you did all right, kid, and like, like kind of like on the chin or something. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I know.
Man. It was a weird
I know.
vibe,
And like I'll go do shows at like the States, and like I did some in Florida. And I remember this guy, this huge guy. He's like, man, you're so funny. Like, fucking. I was like, oh, thanks, man. And just like, he's like, dude, I gave you a shout out on Twitter or something like that, which I don't use Twitter. Yeah. And then it's like, the dude's like a linebacker for the Miami Dolphins, and you're like, what the fuck?
Holy
like,
shit.
Yeah. Whereas like, you go to some buttfuck town, it's just some dude that works at the mill that's like, you're lucky we came out.
I only watch CFL.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's crazy. Like, how do you like? Well, you gotta. This is actually gonna be like a brain pick kind of moment because we're trying to, like hit the road and kind of get out of town and do as much as you can, and like also kind of like establish a following for like what we're doing here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think that. And the current position that we're in with no visa to go to the States, like we have to try to like make an audience out of these, people or whatever. Not only that, like repeat customers, right? All these
butt-fuck towns.
I'm from a butt fuck town. I would love to do the Charles Bailey Theater. Fucking let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But and I think that's the thing though is that as much it's just it's the people that will come up to you and say that negative shit that are probably like less than 1% of people, and there's comedy fans are the best, and I think. Even in the smallest towns, if you get a room that's like established and they're like, hey, these guys bring pro comics, you'll get like the best fans out. It's not, it's like there is a ton of people that appreciate it, and now comedy's so widespread with so many mediums to like take it in on that. It's kind of changed the game too, so people understand what good comedy is, and you can get fans. So I think there's a ton of potential for that, and it's not as bad. It's just those people that it's like they'll go out of their way to be like. Like, I remember one guy so specifically that's like, hey, man, so cool that you just go up there and embarrass yourself like that.
How long ago was that?
That was like probably, 5 years ago.
Right? Isn't that?
But I just,
that will never
maybe
leave.
even more, but it's just because I was like embarrassed.
Totally.
But I think he was just trying to say like you're vulnerable or
That's the other crazy part too. Is like I could totally just be internalizing this whole thing of how this guy meant to say it but this whole time for fucking 6+ years. I'm like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, no.
This fucking piece of shit.
Carry
I'll
that
show
around
you.
with me.
I'll show you.
I got a compliment after a show at Parts Unknown one time. Like my grandmother just passed away, so like I was like for like 2 weeks. There was some sets were going weird, right?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't necessarily dealing with it. I found out, I watched the tape, I was dealing with it on stage, right? And this fucking guy comes up to me afterwards, and he was basically trying to say that, like, like with what you're trying to do as far as like empathy and like I'm taking some wild swings at like dead grandma cancer jokes, all this like kind of shit. But there's like some heart in there, and that's what he meant to say.
Yeah.
But he's just shit faced and slurring out of his mouth. I had to kind of put that compliment together after I left. You know what I mean? Because I was like. Does that guy want to like fight me or fuck me? You know what I mean? He's got a hand on his shoulder. He's talking too close. And I think like there was something there, but like basically I touched one more damaged soul than I was. That, you know what I mean?
But those moments are great. Yeah,
Totally.
But the one thing that I like truly when I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right, is if somebody takes the time. It's usually like an hour or two after the show. They're back at home and they write you like a Instagram, like a long
That's
thing.
sick. Yeah.
Those are my favorite. Where I'm like, okay, even if it's like I do a show and like that person took that away from that show, I'm like, okay, that's like keep doing those, like that direction. Yeah.
I've had after one of our shows in Kits, one of the servers came up to me and she was like, man, like I loved your set. You know, I recently just found out like I can't have kids, and like the way that you talk about it, like it made me feel really, really good about it, about myself. And I was like, fuck, that's what you took away from this?
I didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, right. But it is nice to kind of hear when people take away kind of positive messages.
Well, yeah, it is, right? Because a lot of the
jokes,
fucking other side is just like I've appeared like telling dick jokes or whatever, right? The plumbing material I'm doing right now is just like, how can you laugh at shit like in different directions or whatever, right? Like it's like comedy fans can like get that piece, right?
Yeah.
I think that like we're doing these other shows kind of outwards that if you don't have comedy in a right now without like clubs in Vancouver, it's kind of weird. But like in a Coquitlam situation, you either have people that are very excited to be there, or they're like, hey, we don't have anything that happens in town, so let's just pre-drink fucking 9.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking, you know what I mean? And just show up absolutely blitzed, right? Yeah. And kind of like play it both ways, right? I don't know. It's the fucking weirdest job, like in the world, as far as just like there's like a regular way to, you know, to make a living or whatever, but then you have to do this like kind of pirate thing in the city right now if you want to, you know, try to not only like do this every day or whatever, but I mean, if you're lucky enough to have like supplement like some of your fucking income so you don't burn out, like that's kind of the goal. How did you get from like, where did you go from like day job to like working comedian?
Yeah, I've had, you know, all over the place in that scale. You know, now even I still have a day job, but it's kind of nice where it balances and allows me, like instead of, you know, doing a 5-hour drive to a place, I'm like, I just fly in, fly out. So
that's
like
sick.
Support, and I've got a lot of flexibility in it. But I went, you know, I had a day job, started comedy, had like some, you know, small success out. Like I started in Calgary and won like a, you know, the regional, it used to be the Great Canadian Laugh Off, which was like a Canada-wide thing. But you do, each Yucks would have their own one.
Right.
So I won the Calgary one when I was like a year in, which was kind of a surprise for, you know, because I was
that's wild.
Like headliners and stuff in the finals. So I was like, oh, cool.
A lot of people were happy about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they were very supportive. Yeah.
But some people
not a contentious decision at all.
Some people like surprisingly were, even like some of the headliners were pretty.
I forgot it was in Calgary.
Yeah, they're like,
oh, here you would have been crucified outside.
So that was, and I was like, oh man. So just like quit my job and then just went all into comedy. And I had a house at the time and like you know, savings and all that, and just lost it all, everything, spent every dime till then moved to Vancouver to keep pursuing it with like the last when I had like $5,000 left of all the money, the house and everything. And then but those years were great. Like I just toured even to lose money, like to open, I would just be like, yeah, I'm fine, like $175. But then after like, you know, gas and booze, you lose $50. You're like, wow, it's a good stage time. And then moved to like my last $5,000 to Vancouver, and like within 6 months I was like negative $25,000. Like, I was like, because Vancouver's, you know, wildly expensive.
God.
And then
ridiculous,
so that I, you know, got jobs again and you know kind of balanced that. But it's tough, man, just to go straight into it. And I remember I was on the road with Dan Quinn, who runs the Snowden tour now.
I did a spot for him last Sunday. I just met him, and I get to pick his brain a little bit too about that whole fucking tour.
You really built that. They just started like as snowboarding.
But the way he describes it, just like it's literally just like I'm like, we just did that this summer. I was like, that's what we just did.
Totally.
And then he's like, oh, like holy fuck, you've grown into this, like it's insane, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's nuts. They just kept going back to like the same bars. But I mean, the other thing is they're like incredible comics too. That
unbelievable, so funny.
And he's I mean, Dan is definitely just he's so analytical. He's like, we got to do this.
Dude, that dude had spreadsheets for shit. He broke all of it down for me, man. I was just like, this is fucking insane. I was like, I just speak my language. Like, that's how I would fucking like love to operate. But it it was phenomenal. And he gets like amazing people too. Like there's so many great people.
But yes, again, it didn't start overnight. It just started, and it was just like, hey, we just want to snowboard for free, basically.
Yeah,
like
that's so sick.
The start, and then now it's, you know, wildly successful. But yeah, it's crazy. Like just if you kind of take those steps to do that. But I was on the road with him. And then I was like, yeah, man, I'm quitting and I'm just doing this. And he's like, probably shouldn't have done that. And at the time I was like, what an idiot, man. He's like, you can go slower into it. But but the thing is, I started late too. Like I was, 30 essentially when I started.
Okay.
Whereas like all my, like best friends now that are comics that, were kind of like anywhere from 8 to 15 years, like, ahead of me. They're kind of the same age as me, but just longer in the game as I met them. Like Dave Merhej or like Chris Gordon and all those guys. But it was cool to be, their friend. So I get to go open for them for years and years. Yeah,
it's awesome.
But watch where they're at. So that's why I was like, I got to go in so hard to play catch up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I feel that game.
Dude,
I feel that was strong. It's just like fuck.
Like I'm from a small town, and there's no performing art. Or I'm just a stand-up fan. I just like consume as much of it as I can, but always through television, right? So like the few times that I even got to see live stand-up, you know what I mean? It wasn't a thing that we even thought about doing. I met Jackie in film school, where honestly I was fucking like, I don't know what was I writing? I was writing like crime and like shit with like a lot of like dark humor in it. Yeah. And then kind of like building out to like comedy. Jackie was just there to write dick jokes. It was fucking awesome, right? Yeah, it's just so funny. She wrote some of the most fucked up shit. And then like once we started doing it, after getting out of film school, you're just like knocking on the door of screenwriting, and you're not getting like rejection letters. You're getting no response, right? You're just like throwing scripts at, every email that you're lucky enough to get a hand on. Like, who is this producer for whatever, right? And then going to like a basement and seeing, some people at that one point, you're like, wait, I could fucking do this. And then getting into it and like, having like all the love, and then all like this like wild, like, stories and just like life lived, which I feel like is, you have something interesting to talk about. Right. But the only like regret is being maybe like, 29 or 28 when I started, being like, fuck, some of these kids out here have never done anything in their life as far as like life experience, but they're fucking great joke writers. They have stage presence. They know what they're fucking doing. So like they're going to get their life experience on the road to a car or whatever. Right. So like the handoff there is interesting, but didn't even know that you could go up and do it until like much later in life.
That's exactly how it was. Where I had no idea. And that first, actually that's crazy. Cause I think the first, show I ever saw cause I knew of stand up, but then I met this lady who, her name is Denise Ross, and she, Calgary, the Laugh Shop where that is now, used to be at Yuck Yucks, and there was like this Young Guns program she ran with so many people now that are all, I think everyone from that basically graduated to a headliner, where it was like Allison Smith, Brett Martin, like just across the country. But one of them was like Matt Billen, and then I talked to her. She's like, "Oh, I'll take you to a show," and he headlined. And I just had never seen live comedy before. I'd seen it once at Yuck Yucks, and actually Dan Quinn headlined. Oh, okay. And it was great. But just to be, like you said, like in a basement, it was a different vibe. It was Comedy Monday night when it used to be at Dickens, which is like a rock bar in the basement. And and just watching Bill and kind of riff on the crowd and everything. I'd never seen that. I was like, what? This is amazing. It was like magic.
Totally. I was a punk rock kid, so I was like, I'm like, I know like dirty like basement shows and stuff like that, and you're like, there's something punk rock about this, what I mean, right? And then like just dove like
Dickens in Calgary. What was the room that we went to? The one that looks like the
Broken City,
or like the Viper Room or some shit. That's in LA. It was like where the Rat Boy one is. It looks like it just
Vern's is great.
Vern's. That's a fucking rad bar, dude. Yeah,
well, even Broken City was that the Monday night. That fucking place.
Oh yeah,
they're renovating that. That's such a bummer. The fact that I'll never be able to go back into that bar again and see it like the way that it was.
Yeah, I know, because I recorded a thing there. Yeah, so I had like, it's kind of cool that's on tape.
So
it's like
cool.
right before they shut it down. So
totally, with the lip couch behind you and
everything. So I wonder, I don't know what it'll look like.
I wonder what it'll look like. Yeah, that was a fun time. James is such a character.
That
was a
hell
good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first set ever, was at Broken City.
Really?
James is because he's so passionate about that room. But man, does he lecture you if you do something wrong? Which is great. I didn't realize.
He had a
we
very
definitely
stern
got that
kind
vibe.
of attitude and stuff.
He told
and then we
us
all went
all
up
the rules beforehand, and we were like nervous because he told us, don't look at the bar staff, don't address the bar staff, don't say anything about the bar staff. And it's like that thing when someone tells you something you can't do.
You see her brain
and I was
working,
just like, oh my God, I'm totally going to like get nervous and black out and say something about the bar staff.
Give it up for yourselves.
But like after the sets all went well, he was the nicest dude. He came up and gave us like Monday night notebooks and shit. Like it was the coolest thing.
Calling card of it was like, it's the staple, I think.
Yeah,
you're saying,
good cop and bad cop.
Good
dad, bad dad.
No, but I think you kind of need some, especially like I don't know, you run a room
shit.
And I will say this.
Right?
I will say this because like I'm like, oh, this dude knows sound because he's just like old dude with a ponytail. So I'm like, oh, this guy cares about what it sounds like.
Fucking
That's
Van
probably
Halen
the
t-shirt or
best
something.
fucking sound I've ever been in a room. Like,
Yeah.
it was so.
He does the
That's
soundtrack
great.
every day,
It's-
like from scratch. Yeah,
It was great.
and he's it's funny because then when you're in Calgary, that would be the one set and usually when you start out, you'd get up maybe every 6 weeks, but you go watch every single week. Like I never missed a week. I think my first year and a half of comedy, like every Monday there, and you get to see some incredible acts come through town.
Yeah.
But then you'd get and then as you get better, it'd be like every 4 weeks and every 3.
Yeah.
The most you can get is probably like towards every 2 weeks or something. You'd do your spot, you'd spend, and that's kind of like when you'd showcase to the city and your peers and everything too. And if you had friends, you'd be like, come to this show.
Yeah.
And you just go up and you get your event. I think you start with 5 minutes sets too, and then eventually you can get a 10-minute. But you go off like when you get your 5 and just crush and be like, yeah, and your friends would be like high-fiving you, and then James would pull you aside and be like, young fella, you stepped out of the light. Never. And you're like,
That's so dope,
Oh my
though.
God.
That's the shit,
Yeah,
dude.
but
That's awesome.
You
Yeah.
need some
Later.
old dude like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this, it's like this is the old guy at the hockey rink.
Yeah.
Just being like, no, you crossed over wrong or whatever.
Totally.
Yeah,
Dude.
it's like-
Yeah.
There's at the moment
That's so
it's
sick.
crushing, but Sam Tonning did that to me after a show one night. Like one of my best like sets, like kind of like coming up, and he made a fucking like he pointed something out that at the time I was like, okay, that's weird. He says like I'll kind of like acknowledge the laughter, and I kind of have like my eyes closed or something. You know what I mean? When I'm kind of doing it, I'm kind of looking down. And he said like nobody will ever notice it, but like when you watch the tape, you'll notice it. And I was like, okay, is it like that much of a thing? And he's like, watch the tape.
yeah.
And I go back and I watch the tape, and like I'm like doing well, and then every applause or whatever, I'm kind of like acknowledging it, being like, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
It could be
I'm
so
just-
much better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, like be in the room. Or
What a better
whatever, like,
attitude to
'cause
go into it, like you know,
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
a dude to install that, and you had like said, like when you're starting to be like, oh, like like
There's just a
you're
little
not
thing
the
that you're
shit,
doing
dude.
that-
Like
yeah,
there's so
totally.
much more you can do.
No, but he's like, like the jokes are funny, like the cadence is good, all of that stuff, and he was just said it like very matter of factly outside. He's like, I don't give a shit about your comedy, but it's good. You're doing all right. But
Sam's really
to this
good
thing,
for
like,
that
he's
shit,
the-
though.
like, yeah, just
he
matter of
actually
factly,
pays
same thing.
attention to
Yeah.
everyone's sets. Like
Totally.
even when I just last weekend at House of Comedy, he headlined on Sunday and I featured. And he, after I said he had like an idea for a punchline and shit, and he's like, that's happened more than once with him.
Yeah.
Like he really
Yeah,
does
he's good
pay
shit.
attention.
Yeah, there's not, you
Yeah.
know, when you have somebody
He's
there
really
that
good
gives a
with
shit.
that.
He
It's
crushed last night.
It's awesome.
He's
Yeah.
so
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Let's being the road dog that you are, right? I imagine that like music gets you from A to B. We're gonna transition right now.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking, I'm like, do we even talk about me?
It's hit or
It's
miss.
hit or
sometimes.
miss,
We've,
yeah.
we've gone hours without. But the record that you brought in, I mean, Shyheim, the Rugged Child. I have to say it like Shyheim, the Rugged Child, because as like a music nerd, I consume when I get into something, I fucking like get into it.
Nice,
And
yeah.
This is one where there was a shout out. Shame on I'm not gonna say the in a Wu-Tang song, the Riz is kind of like just shouting out everybody in the clan, and there's like a few.
The clan is quite deep at this point.
Oh yeah.
As
There's
we-
a lot of Wu-Tang affiliated rappers.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to New York City and just walked around Times Square, are we?
iPhone storage.
Tyler.
Is there something you can go in and delete?
Nice. This will
Quick
be good.
break.
We're gonna stop this. Well, we just don't have a tie angle for a minute.
Oh,
Is that the thing?
keep
Yeah.
going?
Okay.
We'll cut back to time.
So
no one wants to
basically-
see this face.
Yeah. It'll be good to keep his mug off the screen for a bit.
If you go to
We'll
New
get
York,
2
and
more
you walk
subs.
around, sorry. If you go to New York and you walk around Times Square, there's a bunch of people that. It's the first time I went to Rodney Dangerfield's Comedy Club. Somebody just like gave me a free ticket and whatever, 2-drink minimum kind of thing. But there's a lot of dudes out there that are handing out mixtapes, and a lot of those dudes will tell you that they're Wu-Tang affiliated.
Right,
And
yeah.
there's so many members of the clan, but this young fella Shyheim is actually affiliated. It has like an interesting story.
Yeah.
And is probably one of the most underrated, not only like members of Wu-Tang Clan affiliates, but like he has like a smooth cadence and a flow that maybe just doesn't have like the punchlines that Big L has.
Right.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
That a lot
yeah.
of people kind of like don't know who this guy is. So, dude, how did you find this? And like, where is?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about why this is the one. You
Yeah,
chose.
and I mean when he popped, he's like 14 or
Yeah.
I don't know, 16 or something. But he was, I think before he was 18, he'd been shared the stage with like Biggie and like all the
Like Madison Square Garden, it was like a huge freestyle thing or whatever
Yeah,
with like
that's the
Pac and
one.
all that.
Yeah.
Like there's footage of that, right?
Yeah.
And you don't, like when some guys get the like the push like that at that young age, you have like freestyle footage on Stretch and Bobbito and stuff like that, and like all these like radio shows and all these like things where this guy didn't really get the chance to be like necessarily like showcased like that, but there was like a push there, and then I don't know. I wasn't around at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? But just as like a historian, I'm just like digging through the archives, and there's just like there's blank periods. But he went to jail for a little bit. We can talk about like that. But like at the time, it's like a D12 situation, or like, you know, for everybody that, or like 50 Cent's G Unit, when there's a huge artist that pops and then kind of brings the posse along. Yeah. Like Big L was great for doing that with like the posse cut 8 is enough at the end of Lifestyles Poor and Dangerous. You have a bunch of like really talented like MCs that you're probably never going to hear again unless you fucking are like in that neighborhood and go to shows,
or if they somehow manage to pop on their, like, which is super rare.
Few and far between, right? Yeah. On like I think of this like AZ from like, you know, Nas's Illmatic has one feature on it, and it's one of the greatest verses of all time on Life's a Bitch. This guy AZ, and he's the most underrated, like, slept on rapper of all time with like a fucking body of work of 12 albums that are all great. You know what I mean? But we'll never get the push or never get like the mainstream like recognition. So you have to find, like, in my case, just dork white kids in Western Canada that found this somehow.
Luckily there's a lot of them.
No shortage.
Luckily we're sitting with one right now.
But, and it was even wilder now, at least, that you can get, because back then, I don't know, you just have to go to a record store and like hope somebody had some obscure
thing. It was so tough to find.
This was hard to find.
And even, and Shyheim too, because I remember when it, you know, came into my life, because I went to also like a rough school, which is funny, and I just assumed everyone goes to the same school I went to. Where, I mean, but
everybody listened to Onyx and had to like maybe get in a fight one day. I did. I'm from that school.
Same thing. And then even I, you know, when I, especially Vancouver though, I'd be like, wasn't there like fights all the time in school? They were like, there wasn't one in the whole high school. I was like, what?
Oh, like, dude, my high school was built on this hill. I'm from this like mining smelting town trail in the West Coonies, and it's built on this hill, and the highway kind of comes down the hill to the side of it, and there's a tunnel that goes like underneath, like all like residential buildings down there. So we would like run down the mountain basically and meet at this tunnel because it was the only like flat ground, and people got fucked up there, man. Like, dude, I was in a circle one time when you're like you have literally like the entire school there. There's a cop car that's going to come down. The principals are going to come down and like try to snatch up everybody and shit. Like, very fucking intense. Like, I mean, there's stage anxiety, but then there's like, holy fuck, I'm in 10th grade and I have to fight this kid in front of the whole school anxiety, and that's fucked up too. Yeah. So like, where you're same neighborhood?
Yeah, same thing. In my school, it was because I moved. So I was in Edmonton. So I was born in Calgary, moved to Edmonton, then till 6th grade. Then between the start of junior high or 7th grade, I moved back to Calgary, and it was like 2 in the Northeast, which is in Calgary. There's not many, like, it's not known for white people. It's like all.
Yeah, Marito talks about it in his.
Yeah, Marito's also, and I like, grew up there. So I have, if you look at my high school photos, I have no white friends. Not like, and it just was, but it was just normal to me. Yeah. But the one thing that was funny is kind of like the one thing all the other races could agree on is that they hated white people sometimes. And they'd always be like, what kind of white are you? But I don't know anything. Like, my parents are still together. They're still doing great.
I'm the whitest white,
yeah, they still live in the Northeast, but they're like, what are you? I'm like, I don't know. I've never asked. Like, I don't know any of my relatives very well.
Definitely had nothing to do with anything that you think I did.
Yeah, I know. But then I found out I was like mostly Irish. I'm like, fuck, I wish I knew that, because then they'd be like, oh, Irish? You're cool. Like, I don't know what it is.
That's the lowest.
Right? Yeah.
That's basically what it is in the hierarchy of white. Unfortunately, Ireland is at the bottom. I don't know.
I know. But it was. Cause where did you go to school? Did you?
I'm from the island. I went to a private boarding school.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, it was a pretty hoity-toity.
What was that like though? Did it have its own?
It was it was pretty. It was bizarre. I wasn't a boarding student because I lived close by. I'm from Duncan, so it was in Mill Bay, so it was just a 20-minute drive. But there was there would be fighting maybe like off campus, like in the forest, if people could kind of get away. But there was mostly
beautiful. Her
like
brother would like there's like a half an hour drive. Like, we've driven to the grounds and stuff, and it's beautiful like facility that she went to school. But like, her brother was just he wanted to get there faster, so they just had a boat, and this dude was like, this kid
Yeah,
would
it
just
was
take a boat
pretty-
because it was like 10 minutes. You could just picture her brother Kelly with just like the tie over the shoulder,
Yeah.
running a boat like 7 in the morning to school. It was the craziest shit. But it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
there was
very
the funniest thing though is that since it's like a boarding school, there's like girls' houses and boys' houses, and girls can't go in the boys' houses and vice
damn.
versa.
Oh,
And
right.
so,
A lot of,
which makes people just get more creative for like
no
hooking
shit.
up
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, just way hornier kids
And
walking around.
so there is this like trail that they built like around the circumference
guns
of the
everywhere.
school because it's right on the ocean. And so for 1 year they had this whole like project to build this Millennium Trail, this boardwalk trail basically that goes around the circumference of the school by the ocean. Beautiful. The kids called it the MT, and that's where everyone went to bang.
yeah.
yeah.
So like dirty rubbers along this beautiful walkway. That they've
I guess it's
Yeah.
like the hierarchy of needs, because if you
Yeah.
ban banging, people are going to find a way to fuck. But then if they're
Yeah.
allowed to fuck, they're like, okay, we'll fight now. That'll be
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
what is that? It's fucking
Yeah.
fight.
Was there a lot of like young
Yeah.
age promiscuity in a bad high school? Were
Yeah.
kids fucking at a very young age?
Yeah.
We were as well, and dude, that's
Yeah,
that
but
might be
I
the
don't.
science to that.
I didn't bang till I was 16, but I remember kids
Fucking
were.
dork.
I was, yeah, I know.
I didn't bang till
Like,
60.
Dude, I was in a 7 Minutes in Heaven game when I was like 13 in a fucking weird room. It was crazy, man. Shit got weird. There was no love. There was no passion. And it honestly has messed me up in my later years because of that. But
Yeah.
we can get to that later.
Oh, let's get to that now.
Let's
As
dig
we have a
in.
beer.
Yeah. 7 minutes. Just give us 3 of them.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about like, okay, like we were talking about like in the sense of like having sex from such a young age and not really like attaching intimacy to it or anything like that. It gets like really weird when I've been in like long relationships like in my adult life and stuff, but I'm also kind of fucked in the head. So when anxiety kind of comes in there and you start like thinking about baseball or whatever, I'm not thinking about baseball. I'm just like, it's been an hour. Can you just like come so that like, you know, whoever's here just like feels like you're not a fucking psychopath, right? So then like I was faking it for a period of time, right? And like for guys, you've like it's no self-respected fucking man to be what are you talking about faking? Like, you can't come when you're having fun and your dick's hard and shit like that. So
Yeah.
it's like super weird.
It'd be funny if you hella faked it too. You're just like,
Oh, but
Just wait.
I've put it on, man. I put it on. I had a girl that was a girlfriend that was a little mentally unstable and stuff like that. So it could definitely be like shit could get. Shit could
yeah,
pop
I
off
feel
real
it.
quick.
Yeah.
So like you had to kind of like be good at. You had to kind of be convincing, right?
Yeah.
And stuff. And it's like, you know what I mean? You really kind of give the shake a little bit, and it's fucked up. So I never really started thinking about talking about this until it was like Halloween a couple weeks ago. And we were listening to like the Halloween like playlist. Obviously, they're on Spotify because they fucking rule. And the Ghostbusters theme song comes on, right?
Yeah.
Sung Ray Parker Jr. Obviously.
great song.
Everybody
Great
knows.
song.
Great.
Yeah, but like you never really listen to it till like 3 minutes like in or whatever. At like 2:45, there's a bridge. And he like the band's just
just
grooving out, and he's
freestyling
just
at the
he's just
end,
having a
yeah.
great time. And he's like, "Bustin' makes me feel good." And like we were talking about it, and like there's like this in the sense of just like being a Ghostbuster, like as I'm stupid. I'm just like basically just working material on a great
I was
comedian
gonna
right
say
now.
you were doing this on stage not long ago.
No, yeah, but I had the sense of like, have you ever like got to that point in your head where just to make somebody else feel better, you know,
Right.
what I mean? Like, because there's like what's the sense of like girls faking it? You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be psychology behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So like
yeah.
on the other side of that, like I'm just a fucking crazy person.
Right.
I just can't be in the moment because every time I'm thinking about other shit. But right now I'm here.
I don't think, but baseball wouldn't work for you, though.
Yeah,
Baseball, I'd Jeter for sure. Yeah, I'd pop to Jeter.
This is so weird. This is like, this is like what it was. I think Sam was talking about that last night. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to think about baseball one day. He's like, you're just gonna fuck.
Oh
your
man, I had
kid.
such a fucking lame joke when I first. It was probably like a year or two in, where I'm banging a girl, with like that bit, and then like trying not to comment or whatever. Then it's like, oh, think about baseball, and it's like, but baseball's like so fucking boring. I like can't even like think about it. And I'm like, that's not working. And I was like, think of something like Newman from Seinfeld, which was like a reference. Maybe it was relevant back then. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Newman's balls on your face. Well, then I like come, and then I'm laying like didn't work, but I'm laying there. I'm like, man, I just came to like the vivid mental image of Newman from Seinfeld's balls. What the hell does that mean? Dumbest joke.
That's funny.
Sometimes you got to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, I know.
It's just to let you know if you don't like it.
Well, I like how we talked about fights, and I went into deep.
Yeah, that went off the
about
You guys
rails.
ever fight? Yeah, fucking guy.
Yeah, we fought without emotion at 13.
When we got here, when we got here at the beginning, I just didn't want to small talk on the first episode that we did, and we got into like heavy stuff right off the beginning. Do you believe in time travel?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I've done ayahuasca, so I
Yes.
believe. I don't know if in time. I have a new bit that mentions time travel, but I don't know if I believe in time travel in the sense that you could alter the linear progression of time. But I definitely believe in multiverses and like different possibilities that way. But maybe I just think that if time travel was possible, there would be a lot of signs that it was, wouldn't there?
That's what we're kind of thinking right now. So I
working
think
on
we
a
might have
theory.
found like that the reason. If you could time travel, what would you do?
Like into the past?
Yes.
I would go back, and then this is what I would do. I would stay in the present. Then I would tell my wife I want to break up for no reason, just like I'm done with you. And then but I love you. But I'm just going in a different direction in life. Then I'd wait to see how she reacted, and if she was just like, yeah, that's cool, I understand. Because if she was like, if she was just like, hey, yeah, I get it, people are, then I'd just go back in time right before I said that and not say it and just know the rest of my life that she truly loves me. Because you can't get the real read on yourself until you break up with someone. But if I broke up with her and she was like, yeah, you little fucking dick piece of shit, I'd be like, oh, good. So then I'd go back to the first time right after we banged and just be like, yeah, I'm done.
That was fucking incredible.
Wow,
That's the best
yeah,
answer
that's,
ever.
It's a selfish
Yeah,
reason.
it's a selfish
I like
reason,
because it's
but,
like you're not even taking a whole lot of time up in the
Yeah,
continuum.
exactly. You're not really traveling.
Like you had a time machine, like you
using
could be in and out of
the
there in the
abilities of time
afternoon. Like you can handle that.
But that's only like if you could only use it once. But if you could use it lots,
Okay.
I'd go
Right.
check things out.
Well, like it's like one of the most.
I check things out.
I gotta do the idea that one of the most popular answers to that is everybody's like, I'm gonna go back and kill Hitler.
Right, yeah.
So what if the reason that the Holocaust happened is that baby Hitler was born with a person coming back in time every day to murder him?
Oh.
You know what I mean? So he's just had to kill
got so
so
good.
many. He's had to stack so many bodies that by the time World War I happens and he fucked that up, he was like, you know what? I got some ideas of my own.
Yeah.
Right? Because we were talking about going back in time because if you're gonna kill baby Hitler, you still have to kill a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? So
and
you
no
have
one
to go
knows
back
that
and-
you're like a time traveler, so you
Yeah.
just have to live with the consequences of killing a baby.
Who leaves
yeah,
a baby
yeah.
alone, especially in like the
You're
fucking
just some
30s
guy.
or whatever,
You're
right?
just
gonna
some
be, like,
guy
sneaking
dressed
into
like Marty
somebody's house to kill a
McFly.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up, right?
Yeah, that's nuts. You gotta wait till they're 13 and kill them when they're fucking in the woods.
That's the
Exactly.
thing, right? You got to find him on the
exactly.
MT.
That's what I
That's
said.
what I said.
Because there's emo Hitler years, right? You have to go to when he's like a failed art student or something like that, right? Like there's easier ways to push him into suicide maybe or whatever and not be a murderer.
Yeah.
But then
or
you have to
help
go,
his life.
Then you have to go
Yeah.
back in time and befriend Hitler. Oh, you just help. Oh, dude, I never
Turn Hitler's life
I
around.
never even thought that was.
That's a man who's just
Nobody's-
done ayahuasca, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, we can fix this.
You really got a different
Bring
perspective.
Yeah.
him ayahuasca back, just one shot. No way. No way. None of that happens.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Actually, maybe not.
Yeah, and everybody's time travel. Everybody's time travel fantasy is to go back and murder a baby, and nobody's going back to help a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going back to
right?
help him in. That is fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm glad that we've circled back to this theory.
I'm just, we were on it like an hour ago. I'm high. I just wanted to bring it up.
I'm just eating at him.
Sorry. Chris, do you bake on the weed?
Oh, something might.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Ty,
yeah,
we've
so,
been
yeah.
back. We were cutting in. We're cutting out.
Yeah, no one needs to see. No
Yeah,
one needs
I
to see
did.
that.
It was funny when I was because I'll smoke weed. Like I can't smoke it in because my mom's for sure. No, like if I smoked it here, I'd just do the podcast would have to end. I'd have to go home. Like, what the fuck am I? But yeah, maybe I think my mom's for sure on the spectrum, like 100%. So then I might be. But if I smoke weed, I'm just like I can't even socialize. Like, but
Right.
if I'm at home chilling, for sure. But I don't do it too much though. But I remember I did I worked at a night shift job for a newspaper, and then a guy was like, hey, do you want to come help me tile the mall, like the downtown mall in Calgary on the Sunday? And I was like, sure. He's like, I'll pay you $500.
That's a lot of fucking tile.
Yeah, it was a lot. So
tiling
and he
a
just
mall.
sat there and smoked weed the whole time. He'd show me how to do it, and I did.
Yeah.
I was, I don't know, 19, 20. It was, the summer, it was right before the end of my first year of university, I think. So, it was, and then we didn't do it all in one Sunday, but I did a lot of it. And then he's like, yeah, I'll finish the rest. And then he just kept not paying me, after like 2-3 weeks went by. He's like, yeah, I'll get you the money. And then finally I'm like, dude, where's the money? Like, it's been like 3 weeks. He's like, dude, drive me home. I got it for you. And he was like a mega stoner, like adult. Like
It's never good when the guy who owes you money goes,
Drive
just
me
give me a ride home.
Yeah. I know. And I'd given him ride homes like every day.
Oh,
before.
dude, yeah,
Like last
good.
ride home, he's like, I got you the money. So he
I can't afford the bus.
Comes out, he gives me like $250 and he owes me $500, and he's like, hold on, and then he goes in his garage and comes out with like a bag of weed, like huge, and he's like, this is worth way more than $250. He's like, you could sell it, and it's night shift, so you probably could. And I was like, okay. And then, but like I said, it was the end of the semester, and then I was like, well, I'll smoke a bit, and I worked night shift, and that year, because I was paying for university or whatever, college, I was just working full time on nights, and I remember that summer because I worked, I think, 21 days straight, had like 1 day off, 22 days. It was nuts. Like I was just every night. So then what I'd do is like go to work, stop at, like they used to have like video stores, like rent a movie. And I just started at the A section. I'm like, I'll watch every movie I've never seen. And then I'd like work, watch the movie, get off shift, get stoned, watch the movie. And sometimes 2, and then go return it and then rent more. Just did that cycle, and it was incredible. I think I only made it up to like the D's or E's. Like,
that's a lot of fucking movies.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Oh my god!
But
what's a sleeper B that we haven't heard of?
Well, like I don't remember the one that blew me away that I'd never heard of, not even in theaters or anything, was like Boondock Saints. Where because there was
it's a good B.
Yeah,
it's a
cult
good
classic,
B.
sure.
Solid
But
B.
when you find it on your own, you're like, this movie fucking rules.
Yeah, it was like out of nowhere. And then if you watch that Overnight documentary, which was one of the best documentaries, why that happened, why there was it's insane. Like the guy.
Oh fuck, I don't know that one.
Really?
Sick.
Oh,
That'd be
man.
It's like when I
amazing to
found
watch.
Boondock Saints, it was like it was already like had its like cult following, and it was showed to me by a guy that had the fucking tattoo down his finger, and I was like,
Wow.
this guy's a fucking dork.
Because the movie's kind of
It's awesome. It's
awesome,
rules,
but
yeah.
it's cheesy. Like to
It's-
be like,
it's
I'm
che-
getting that.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
to be crazy.
Dude, Willem Dafoe is in it. It's great. It's got like the tellings of one of like the
Great
best street
Dafoe.
joke tellings
Yeah.
or whatever at the at the thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean, right? All that stuff. I'll have a Coke.
Yeah.
But there's also one of the worst scenes ever because the guy that is in Walking Dead, when Rocco is like walking away, he's like, forget you. It's one of the worst fucking. Dude, I can't. I've watched the movie a million times, and every time that I see that one, I
As an
crack up.
Italian, he's very particular about how someone says
Rocco's
"forget
the best
you."
one. Rocco's the best guy. He's
Yeah,
good.
but even that opening of that movie where they like rip the
It's
toilet
so
off and jump,
fucking
you're like,
great.
You're like, what the
It's
fuck?
one of the wildest openings.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
totally.
had no idea because I had to watch, like, as long as it wasn't like a romance or something. For me, I'd just be like, But then that whole summer.
Did you get to the American Ninja series in A? American Ninja 5 Rules. Sorry.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
But they might not have had it.
Okay.
Because it was just like a neighborhood. It wasn't like Blockbuster
right.
where they have all of them.
Yeah.
But then at the end of that summer, I ended up just smoking that whole bag every day. And your tolerance kind of gets where you can just manage life being stoned all the time. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'd be like stoned at work, stoned after. But then I went back to school and one of my degrees was English, and I'd have to write a paper, and I was just like, holy fuck. Like, I'd like
So hard to
forgot how to write. Yeah. And then then I just stopped, and it took me like a month to kind of get back to where I was like, okay, I could, and I think it particularly like affects me different. So then that was like where from then I was like, okay, so I'll still smoke weed, but I was like, man, did I? And it was such a fun summer. Like it was like everything was great. Like,
You got to keep it at an arm's length. Like there's a difference. I've been smoking it for so long that I need to find like the sweet spot. There's there's a weird kind of like anxiety if like I wake up after like drinking, or you're like, I'm wasting the fucking day, I need to get something done.
Right.
And that's when like I've written some of my best shit. That's when like, you know what I mean, I've kind of conquered whatever I need to conquer on my fucking like the 2 days off that you get a week or whatever, right? There's that anxiety like if I'm going to waste this fucking day, then what am I working the whole week for, kind of thing. So with weed, it's a weirder thing because it's just kind of like a constant. It just kind of like keeps it on the plane. But it's weird when you kind of like if you're like committed to doing something and you're also committed to fucking smoking weed, then you really have to kind of like you find the balance act or whatever, right? Because like my computer is next to my bong on the table, and one of them gets used more than the other.
Yeah,
right. And that's a fucking problem.
Yeah, I know, and I know some people that smoke tons of weed and are comedians are great, hilarious, like really productive. So I think it's just everyone kind of finds their thing for, and like gummies or something to relax. I'll have an awesome night, but. Yeah, just and I don't know. Yeah, it can help with creativity for sure. Like put you in a different mind state and all that. But as far I know, some people that just smoke it for like to take the edge off of the anxiety, but it doesn't do that for me. But I guess that summer when I smoked it every day, it kind of did.
You're just stoned all the time.
Well, that's the thing. If you smoke weed all the time, then you need like that's what's taking the edge off is just getting high again.
Yeah,
you're just like, this is too much.
I remember I had this girl I was dating, and I'd come for a bit of that, and then I'd come back off work, and she'd kind of wait for me and meet me at my spot, and then I'd be after like a shift, so I'd be like joking around. But for her, it's like 5 a.m. because it's night shift, so she's kind of like tired. But usually she'd at the beginning she'd like wake up and be like, it would be fun, and we'd roll a joint, and, watch movies and stuff together. But I just remember I was like joking around like blah blah blah, and she's like, just roll the fucking joint, and I was like, oh, this relationship's done.
Yeah,
totally. And it was.
It's
wow.
over.
I see how it is. Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious.
It's over.
I remember my stepdad asked me that one time because I was like, I was smoking weed, and my buddies that were across the street, like it was. Granted, they were right, but at the time I was like, these are my best friends. Fucking, they'll do anything for you. These guys are all right. And he was kind of asking me like, are they your real friends or are they just like a pass the joint friend? And I remember being so young that we didn't like openly talk about smoking weed, but he just like he's like, I'm not a fucking idiot. And he said that, and I was just like, no, they're my real buddies. And then like fucking years later, I'm like, they're totally just pass the joint friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. So I gotta get back to the record.
So the reason I brought up the whole thing where we went down that rabbit hole was because like the school is like pretty rough, but it was fun, and then also like people would get killed in my school, like murdered and stuff, and I'm like, people get killed? And like, no, like just like at house parties, stabbed or stuff like that, and there was big fights between drug dealers too, and like different, I don't know, usually it was like
territories
groups, and like that, it got pretty nuts but also it was just like day-to-day life's normal, like you just live with it. But I remember Jamie, a guy, it probably would have been, because I think Shyheim's like probably 3 or 4 years older than me, I'd guess. Like, so when you're a teen and then this guy's like, 3 years older, you're like, how's this guy, rapping with Ghostface Killer, and that but he's like, our age. But a guy at school had stolen the guy Shyheim CD, and the guy found him in the hallway and confronted him. He's like, hey man, you have my CD. The Jamie guy's like, no, I don't. And he's like, yeah man, I know you stole it. And he's like, no. And he's like, then what's that? And it was like the perfect outline of the CD.
He just fit his CD. I mean, it is a 90s. They're big pants.
And he's like, what CD is that? He's like, it's my Tupac one. He's like, then take it out. And he's like, no, I'm not showing you, man. And then the guy's like, it was like going to be a fight in the hallway. But for whatever reason, the Jamie guy just wouldn't back down, wouldn't reveal what that was, and then
fucking
the
some
guy's
kids
like,
would just steal your shit.
Like right to your face, and then the guy's like, "Fuck you, man, we'll get you." He's like, "Dude, whatever you want." And then they split up, and then Jamie right away is like, "Dude, take a CD." And then I was like, "Should I?" Because I'm like, "Is this gonna turn?"
Now you got the
brawl?
shank.
Yeah.
You're holding the shank.
Yeah. So then I was like, maybe I go. Like, because I knew the class they'd just come out of that he stole it from, so I'm like, maybe I go put it back in there, and the teacher finds it, and she's like, "Hey, did anyone?" And then everything's cool. Yeah. But he was like, it was like the end of the day or something, so I just took it home, and then I listened to it, and I was like, holy fuck, this is good.
He's like, never getting this CD back.
I think that guy forgot he gave it to me. Like, nobody ever mentioned it again, but it was just like, I couldn't believe how good the CD was. And I think it was before I had a job, because I think I worked at Dairy Queen when I was 15, but this was probably
that's like pre-flamethrower.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shout out Dairy Queen.
My dream jobs were like Toys R Us, so I could get free toys, or like Dairy Queen's like free ice cream, and I didn't get Toys R Us, but I got there.
Sick.
And it was, man, blizzard every day. Like, I suddenly had the best lunches at school. My whole jacket pockets would be just cheeseburgers. It was incredible. And I remember my first paycheck, because I made $4.25 an hour when I started, but my paycheck was $75, and I was like, how do I even spend this? Like, this is insane. No money. But I think this was before that. So getting a CD is like your birthday or Christmas.
Yeah.
I didn't have too much money growing up. But so then this, it was pretty cool.
What is this? So this is like 96. So I'm starting to buy CDs probably around like, I don't know, I'm like 12 or 13. So like around like 2003, everything was like around like the $19, $20 mark or whatever.
Yeah, it was all 20. Expensive. Yeah, because I remember when I had that $75 check, I'm like, I could buy 3 CDs with this, and I probably went and did. And this might have been like when, after I was working at Dairy Queen. But I just remember that CD. I listened to it a lot because when I did my homework or whatever, I'd go home and just like listen to it on repeat. But I was just blown away how good it was. Yeah, and then Dave Merhej is a really good buddy of mine. He's mega into hip hop as well. So the first time he came and crashed with me when I had a house and stuff, in Calgary. And that was always funny too, because I was, I'd been doing comedy a year, 6 months, and people would come to my spot. It was like a full-on suburb house, and they're just like, man, comics don't have this shit. And I was like, oh yeah. But then, a year later, I'd lost it. But because Merhej came out to just do a couple of shows, and I was like, yeah, you can crash with me. And he's like, oh, this spot's sick. And then he's like, he just stayed, and he did like 3 months of shows, and we did all the small town ones, and I just go open for him. And then I remember he was probably like 10, 11 years into comedy and frustrated. Like, man, I don't know what more I got to do. Like, I'm one of the best in Toronto and all this. And then he did all those runs, like, Cranbrook, Saskatoon, like all the shit things. But I think he just grew, because you get an hour, and you're just thrown to the wolves essentially in those shows. And then he like went back and won like Best Comic Toronto. He won Homegrown, which used to be the Just for Laughs competition. Like, just it was insane. Like, popped off. Then he was on MTV like within a year. So it was really cool to see him at that sort of 10-year, 11-year mark with the frustrations. So then if in my career at any point, I'd be like, man, Dave was that far in and still and one of the best to do it. But he was staying at my house and we'd always play songs for each other, but he was like playing some album up in the computer room, like working on some stuff. And then I just like came in and turned the album off, and he's like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, just let me play one song, because I had it on my big speakers downstairs, and I just like cranked Shyheim, and he was like, bro, this is amazing. So I'm like, I know, I told you. But it's such a crazy story with Shyheim, where he was like massive hit, because I think his first was it On and On.
This is the second.
The second one, and this one was killer. And then it's just kind of nothing. Like, just nothing happened for a while.
It's like it's weird too, because like much later, like he turned himself, like on his reading his Wikipedia, and apparently like he was involved in like a hit and run or something like that, and then had to like turn himself in and ended up going to jail for like manslaughter or whatever. He just got out of jail in like 2020 or something like
2020. And I think he, and also before that, in like I think it was 2008, he did like a diss track against Raekwon or something, which was smart.
Going against
that's not
or maybe it was RZA. I can't remember who it was.
Oh man,
full on one. And then people,
that's a terrible
and
idea.
He never responded. He just kind of ignored it. But I think it's because he opened and worked with Ghostface a lot, and Ghostface's cousins. That he was just like, hey man, maybe leave it alone. But that was a big thing too, to just to come out.
Well, like the thing is, like if you're getting like Woo affiliation, like the weird thing about like Woo affiliation is that this dude is so fucking so nice, but like the production is it's like any like Mobb Deep record or Smith Wesson record or like anything like that. The production isn't Wu-Tang. You know what I mean, right? Like if this had RZA produces the last track on this album, and you can fucking tell,
no,
like talking over, and Raekwon's on it and stuff like that. It fucking sounds like a Wu-Tang song, right? The rest of this stuff could fall like anywhere into that like 1996 golden era East Coast hip hop. Is fucking fantastic, right? But like, you know what I mean?
That's funny. I don't notice that at all.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like I was thinking about it when I was listening to it today. Like you know what I mean? If you have like like the permission to wear the W and like represent it or whatever, you'd think fucking RZA would like give you a fucking beat or two.
I know, because I remember being, because I was like really into Wu-Tang, and then I'd be like, oh man, and when it's the same thing, like $20 was a lot of money to buy a CD, and the worst feelings when you buy a dud and you're like, what the fuck, all the songs suck, like,
dude, like when you're taking a shot back then, like it was like the fucking worst.
What a time to be alive though, just to be at
great.
the fucking record store to be like,
I
don't know,
I have
$20
or like probably not very good, but because I paid that much money for them, I forced myself to listen.
Oh,
to
yeah,
it.
You have to. Yeah, and there's not even Google, so you couldn't even maybe you could buy a magazine, but because you would just go and you're like, oh, like Killer Bees, like didn't have the Wu-Tang symbol on it. You're like, okay, this should be good, and sometimes it was, and sometimes it was awful, and I was like, what the fuck? But but this one was just one that never even heard of them, nothing.
Totally.
And, got the album in funny circumstances, but. Yeah, start to finish, decent.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. It's like
great.
fucking. But it's like one of the like gems, like hidden in the rough. I was like doing the research. This comes out in 1996, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to pop in 1996, we're comics. We're trying to pop. We're trying to set ourselves ahead of everybody else. These are the fucking albums that came out in 1996, right?
It's insane.
From the just from like the underground era, you got like Lost Boys, Legal Drug Money. Fucking Helter Skelter Nocturnal, MOP Firing Squad comes out, Exhibit at the Speed of Life, UGK Riding Dirty, Dr. Octagon, Rascast, Soul on Ice, J. Rue the Damager. Those are all like underground classics, right? At the same time, those that like are fucking like legendary enough, like that kind of like outshine the Shyheim thing. We're competing with Nas, It Was Written, Tupac, All Eyes on Me, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, Outkast, AT Aliens, The Roots, Illadelph Half-Life, Redman, Muddy Waters, The Fugees, The Score, and West Side Connection's Bow Down.
Wow.
What the fuck in the same year?
And that's funny, although when you're...
And Pac dies.
Yeah, and Tupac dies that year.
Yeah, and I was definitely working at Dairy Queen, so I'm like, I have like almost all those albums.
Yeah.
That was definitely in the years where I'm like, oh yeah, I could buy this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got
But
fucking sleeves full of burgers.
Yeah.
Like you're just dispensing burgers like Pez dispensers.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I remember I got busted one like finally. Because it'd be closing shift, I'd just make them and throw them all in the freezer, and like we had like a mini freezer, just with like the burgers you'd put in the grill. And then Jeanette, the manager, well, I have jokes about her where she was like a trucker mouth lady, and she would just smoke cigarettes and wear those like yellow sunglasses. But then she wiped them one day, and I realized it was just from. And she'd had this back office with cameras on it, but it was old school, like you could only have one camera at a time, and mostly it was at the front because you have to watch the registers. Yeah. So it was rare she would have it back on ours, but and then when the health inspectors come, we had to wipe the walls of our office too because they were just pure cigarette. Like, and she would swear all the like we'd try to piss her off, be like, Jeanette's coming, let's burn the onion rings. And we'd be like, Jeanette, we burnt this. She's like, you fuckers, like just snap. Like, it was so funny, but
Jeanette's going, let's burn the onion rings.
There was like one day we were late closing up, and she's like, here, I'll help you. And she opened that little freezer. I'm like, oh man, and she found like 3 double cheeseburgers.
No.
Oh, no.
What the hell is this? And she's like, I'm going to check the cameras. But I'd always check the camera wasn't recording because it could only record one screen too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on the kitchen when I made them. And then she's just like, did you make these? I'm like, no, must be from like the last guy that worked. But it's in a freezer and he hadn't worked for like hours. So full on for sure me. And she's like, well, we're going to check the cameras and you're done. But if you come clean now, it might save your job. And I was like, no, I'm good. I just sat like scariest moment of my life. And she came out and she's like, you little fucker, camera's not working. She's like, I know you fucking did it. And I was like, no, I didn't, Jeanette. But like, that kind of like, then I stopped like the burger.
Challenge
When
onion
you're,
rings.
like, in high
That wasn't me,
school,
bitch.
Like when you find out that you could like kind of like game the system a little bit. Like I worked at a pizza place, and it got to the point where like the manager was awesome, and then like because he's Italian town, right? So he's my cousin, my buddy's cousin, and he kind of gets me in there, and everything was cool. And he just came back from Calgary, where he had like a fucking gnarly coke addiction and shit. Like he fucked up his whole life in Calgary, but he was like this great chef, and he's got this assistant manager job at this pizza place, right? So that's how I kind of got in there, and all my friends are drug dealers. So this guy, he smokes weed still, but he's just like, can't drink, got to stay off the blow, fucking, you know what I mean? It's cool. And then as like Friday night shifts and Saturday night shifts get like more and more intense, you can see him like starting to snap. And my friends are coming to the place and getting like free chicken wings and shit. And like he knows where to find coke. That kid right there, right? And it was like, it became... you just kind of started to like see the edge kind of go over to the point where my buddies were like asking me for, hey, can I work at the pizza place? And I was like, no, you're going to fuck this whole thing up. You're going to blow this whole spot up. And then on Monday I would come into work and he went around me and he got a job at the pizza place, right? So
oh man, now
the fucking, you know, like the roosters in the hen house or what was that the thing? Anyway, the like the devil is working inside. You can start to see like this fucking everything switch, and his whole like once he started to get back into like addiction and shit, he was a fucking asshole. He was trying to cut, you know, he was trying to shave money off of us and stuff. So once he started stealing from us, we realized we could steal from them, and it just fucking like we took it so far. Basically, I was delivering pizzas, and then they made me like the assistant manager because this dude was getting like so fucked up that he was kind of like on the edge. But I had like 16 years old. I had keys to this pizza place and everything like that, and I was kind of like running shit over there. So except for like doing payroll and like schedules and stuff like that, I was kind of like in charge of a lot of shit. That me and my buddy were getting fucked over so hard that we realized that we don't have like a pay at the door debit machines. So like it's either like cash or credit. Yeah. So we'd ask them on the phone when we were going to deliver something if it's going to be cash. And so it's like 2 large pizzas is like, like $35 or whatever. And it's just like 2 blocks away. So we'll just make 2 large pieces and drive them over there and then go to like the weigh sheet and be like, fucking, they said no mushrooms. We put mushrooms on them.
Right. Yeah. Take
that. Dude, we fucking walked away with like it was insane how much money, like to the point where we were like, is this right? You know what I mean? Like we're doing okay, but like, I mean, my girlfriend has like jewelry and shit. Like we shouldn't be stealing this much. This is fucking insane.
Yeah. For ours too, I think it got where we were like, oh, we could take a burger or 2.
Yeah.
Is because we had a manager, Kathy, like a supervisor. Jeanette was the main one. And Kathy she had a family of 5, and she would just make us make like the chicken, like insane amounts. She would take like bags and bags home. And then they did like a sting operation where like the regional manager came and filmed through the windows and caught us like making the burgers. But Kathy was insane too. She wouldn't let us take anything home. She'd be like, nope, make it for my family. And God, she was awful. Yeah. So then. She ended up getting fired. So we looked in the big picture okay for that. Yeah.
On the right side.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
That's good. Yeah. Have you ever been in trouble with the law? Did you ever get caught?
For
anything?
For anything? Yeah, nothing like too crazy. I've been like arrested for dumb shit a few times, but nothing. I remember I was like rolling a joint in university. They have Bermuda Shores Day in Calgary. It's the last day of university where you have like a big party, and it was snowing, so they moved it indoors. So the whole like town, like the cafeteria food court place where they have like A&W and all that stuff was packed. And then so I just pulled out a bunch of weed. I was rolling a joint, told my friends, I was like, they had security guards. So watch for that. And then like roll wasted. And it's like 4 p.m. in the day. And I just feel like hands on my shoulder, and I look up and it's like a cop across and then behind me. So I wiped the joint I was rolling down, and I had a bag of weed, and I put it like in my thing where they didn't. And the guy stands me up, and he's like, he saw me put the joint down. Yeah. He's like, pick it up. So I go down there, but I'm drunk and panicking, and there's so much garbage because it's been like a party for 4 hours because you just start day drinking. So I'm trying to find it. The other cop like digs through, and he's like, I found it. And so like they slam me down. And I remember I only made one friend outside of my group because of my high school friends who went there. In an English class, and he was working at the coffee shop, and I was right in front of it, just getting arrested, like looking at him and cuffed, and then they pat me down, they find the weed, like, where'd you get this? And I was like, I just bought it from a girl in class today, and they're like, what? Wow, like, and I was like, man, like, come on, like, are you? And then everyone's watching too, and it was before like people would film, they didn't have those phones, but they're all like, the whole thing. So the cops are like, look, they took me over, and they're like, grind the weed out in like the garbage can, and then like in front of everyone. So I did that, but then when I was doing it, it was like still in the bag, so it's just like God. And I remember they went to A&W to line up to get burgers, and then I just like, went back to the garbage can because it was still
in the bag.
Hell yeah! It was like that was a thing, but like stuff like that. But I've never been like full on. I got like a DUI when I was really like 21 or something like that, but then I got found not guilty of that. So
nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So
finally law comes.
I know. But yeah, it does nothing like crazy. How about you guys?
I got some stories. I don't know.
Nice. Jackie, do you have any?
No, not really. Yeah.
Ty, do you?
For like jail?
Yeah. Or just like arrested.
No. Yeah, I've definitely been arrested.
Being arrested's fun when you get let go. You're like,
I got arrested at Halloween in grade 12. I was dressed as Stewie Griffin, and I made my own costume. So it was like this big pillow fucking head that I made. And someone had we were in like Boundary Bay in Tawasin. Someone had like knocked over like a bunch of garbage cans, and it was like just garbage everywhere. We were shit faced, but it wasn't us. But it's like these cops.
I swear to God.
I honest to God, was not us. Because it was literally like my friend Mike's house had it happen to him. Like it was just it was like a neighborhood that like a bunch of my homies lived in. It's like we wouldn't have fucked that neighborhood up. Like, And these cops, and like we had like the classic like suburban cops that are like, we're here to whoop some teenage ass. Yeah. Like it was like every weekend was just like, don't get the shit kicked out of you by these cops. Yeah. And they rolled up and just beat the piss out of us, dude. And I got like, I got resident take to the drug tank. And I remember they like took me the head and I was like, wearing these red suspenders. Like, oh really? Give me my. Yeah. I would like something back now, please. That's so bad. Yeah, my mom had to come pick me up and like. I was like fucked up. Like I had like marks, and like visible marks from getting the shit kicked out of me. Like so my mom was like, "What the fuck? You can't just be like beating the shit out of teenagers. Like he's hammered. He's an idiot. But like, what the fuck you guys doing?" So I took that as like. Well, because I'm free now. So I'm like, it's right, motherfucker. Like, lifting him off the whole time in the car. My mom was like, get in the fucking car. Yeah, it was not good. Yeah.
I didn't really know like the heaviness, like the weight of the law or whatever. But like I found out like really young or whatever that you could just like steal candy from like 7-Eleven, right?
Yeah.
Any store like that. So I was like sticky fingers. I just said like I was shoplifting like everything when I was a kid. And when I was in grade 6, I went to this like new middle school and like a bunch of like kind of schools, little elementary schools converged, and meeting a bunch of new people. And I saw this kid. His name was Ryan. I'll never fucking forget this. Some kid had like a condom or whatever from like the health class or like the nurses fucking room or whatever, and he paid a kid a loony for the condom. And I was like, what the fuck? Those things are free like all over the place. Like what was that? And they were like doing weird shit with them. They were like filling them with shaving cream, throwing them at cars, jerking off with them. I don't know. Yeah. Didn't matter because I was like, there's a market here. Condoms, because so then what I started to do is I just have to walk past Safeway every day on my way to school, as I would just like stop stealing candy bars at Safeway and I would just go into the at the pharmacy section and just start stealing boxes of condoms.
Oh dang.
Yeah, and I would go into so like my locker was just like lined with these condom boxes.
Isn't it crazy how like it escalates from like candy? We're like, we understand that, and then like condoms, like you're an animal.
Right? I'm like, I took the safe, dude. Yeah. I'm like, I'm 12, I'm like 13 or something like that. And as soon as like I don't know, I saw like an opportunity. I'm a young entrepreneur. I don't know.
No, I get it.
Not a lot going on at the house, right?
Once the clerks are tied up, it's easy to
it's
take
easy
shit.
to take a box.
Oh man, I would love like an Ocean's 12 sort of fucking guy to be stealing condoms.
Dude, I'm about to break it down for you, man, because this whole fucking thing, like I was doing this like so regularly that my buddies that all my friends sold weed at the time, and you're in a small town where like I can't sell weed too. You know what I mean, right? There's just not enough weed to be sold, or not enough customers to buy it. So like I kind of like reverted to crime, and like this like shoplifting thing kind of went into like, fiddling car door handles and stealing change out of that, to like stealing car stereos when everybody had subs and all that shit. I was a piece of shit when I was a kid. And it went on from there too. But at this time when I'm like fucking like 12 or 13 or whatever, I'm getting so confident because like I'm coming home with like $15 in change every day and being like, my brother's like, where's all this money coming from? I'm like, they're paying me $1 for a condom. Like this is the craziest fucking thing you've ever seen. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. But I'm like making fucking money, like hand over fist, and my teacher walks by my locker one day, and she just sees, because I had like Trojans, I had fucking like flavored ones. What do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had like a selection for these fucking guys. And then one morning I had like a fucking I knew I had like an order that I had to fill. I was like, fuck, I don't have this much supply. I'm gonna probably, unless I have to like walk back to Safeway at lunch and steal another box of condoms, can't be running up in there. You know what I mean? 2 times in a day.
No.
I'm gonna steal 2 boxes in this morning, right? And I'm like, I got this, right? And this is where I got fucking greedy. And this is the fall of me, my dad, my brother. We all have the same stories, and we've all fucked up in the same ways, right? As soon as you just get greedy and you fuck up. So I took 2 of these boxes, and that girl from the 7 Minutes in Heaven that I told you about earlier, her dad works he's the manager of Safeway, and he actually sees me, and he knows I'm a little piece of shit because I'm probably having sex with his daughter.
He's gonna say, you're the little asshole who's banging my daughter.
It's one reason to fucking punch the shit out of me, and he just got it, right?
Yeah.
So he grabs me
I'm almost happy for him, I'll be honest with you.
Grabs me by the shoulder.
Piece of shit.
I hate telling some of these stories on this podcast because there's so many childhood stories where I'm not the good guy. Like you can see now that like I learned lessons and all that shit or whatever, but I'm just like, these were really funny at the time. But anyway, I fucking just ran out of Safeway because like he's trying to get a hold of me and shit like that. He ended up dying of cancer. He didn't have a strong grip, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the fuck out of that door. And when I came to school, I just knew that like they know who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Like the jig is up. So I just like was at school for the day, just like waiting for the fucking hammer to drop kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just fucking sucked so bad that nothing happened and everything was cool. And I went back home, and when I walk around the corner and I see my house and I'm like, everything is cool. And I walk past the hedge and there's a fucking cop car like in the fucking driveway.
Oh, damn.
And I'm like, okay, this is the thing. So then I have to go into the house, and my mom is there, and she's losing her fucking mind, right? Because, you know what I mean? Her and my dad had a bunch of issues, the reason that they're not together and stuff like that. She's doing everything that she can that I don't turn into a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And here I am, just like blossoming,
Stealing
right?
condoms.
Oh, yeah.
Stealing condoms
And she just doesn't understand it. And I'm like, because when they saw it, they were like, dude, like, are you like having sex and blah, blah, blah. Like, that was the thing, which like I was, but like not protected. So like, you don't have to worry about this. I'm not stealing this from me. The problem is that when I told them about what was happening, I was like, I'm going to school and they're buying them for $1 a piece. And the cop was just kind of like, I mean, we only got him on 2 boxes of condoms. I'm not going to charge him for theft. It's just kind of like he's 12 years old. This is just kind of like a slap on the wrist kind of thing. Yeah. You have to like discipline your child. And my mom is like losing it. And I'm like, it's not me. It's these kids are retarded, right? Like I'm making so much money. It's ridiculous. That my mom was like, okay, I was at my wit's end with this kid. I have to call his father now. My dad lives in Vancouver at the time, so he calls, hey kid, how you doing? And this is like my first police experience. He's just kind of like, oh shit, like what happened? And he's thinking like his life, he's like, fucking, this could be anything.
Yeah.
But my kid's stealing boxes of condoms to sell them to idiots at school. Yeah. He's like, he gets on the phone and he's like, I need you to keep like a straight face right now. I did not really. I'm kind of proud of you. There's nothing I could do, but your mom wants me to reprimand you right now. So like, you're gonna come down for the summer. We're gonna have a good time. Everything's cool. But you're gonna get a lot of heat right now when you hang up this phone. So just like, be cool for me.
Yeah.
You know, like let your mom know that I gave you a hard time, so you can still come and see me.
Yeah.
You know, this little coded message that was on the phone. It's like, you're gonna get some heat, but like, this is a hilarious story. And don't worry about it. So that was the first one, and then it wouldn't be the last.
Yeah.
But it has been. I haven't like really been involved in the police. I got a DUI when I was 23, and I think that was the last time I really had like a run in
Yeah,
there.
those suck.
Dude, the worst. Was were you dead to rights?
No, I was like it was weird because I remember because I drove a guy home to like a rough part of town. Some kid I took out to a nightclub for his first time out. He just turned 18, and I was like, oh, I'll drive you home. And then it was like they were just doing a check stop at the local like neighborhood shit pub because everyone just leaves their blackout. And I kind of had to I saw it a mile away, and I was just like, oh, is that construction? Like drove in, but it was. I think I just chugged they let us order a drink at this club we were at, and then they're like, everybody out. And I was like, man, I just ordered a Smirnoff Ice.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't
ice.
You got ice.
Yeah, with my girlfriend at the time, and the guy's like, doesn't matter. And she's like, well, I can't even finish it. And then I just grabbed it, slammed it, and then got in the car. So I think it had spiked my thing. So that's how I got not guilty, because I hired a guy to measure blood alcohol and all this stuff. But yeah, it was fucked, man, because then they like take away your car, and I worked night shift. So I'd walk, because I could take the bus to work, but then at like 3 to 5 a.m. when I got off, there was nothing. So it was like a 2-hour walk back every day, or bike in the summer when there's no snow. But man, just that weighing over your head. Yeah. And my friends would come, like, because I'd work like Friday, Saturday nights always, and they'd like go out partying or whatever, and then somebody would drive and like steal my bike seat, and I'm like, guys, it's not funny, because I'm like, it's like a 40-minute drive home, but I gotta stand like the whole time.
After working too.
Yeah, so that was nuts, but I don't know. Yeah, it was. Thank God I got not guilty on that, because I was googling all the shit that like happens if you are. And after I was not guilty, it was still showing that it happened on my record, and I went to get insurance. I remember they were like, it was like $5,000 a month or something. I was like, what the hell, or $10,000 a month? And they're like, because of the DUI. I'm like, no, that's not guilty. And they're like, oh yeah, $200 a month. Like, so yeah, that was definitely a wake up call, just to not fuck around with that. But for sure, probably drank and drove after that.
Well, I mean, I don't fucking. It's like a Canadian joke or whatever. If you parcel out to like every time you drank and drove, should have got a DUI. It's like $20 a pop.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because he got that same. They couldn't come to Canada a couple times because of that shit.
Yeah, I feel like that.
And that's what I was like, the travel restrictions. If you get that, I was like, oh,
well,
man,
it's crazy too, because like America, I don't know. Everybody fucking says crazy shit to say about them. I love that fucking country so much, and they welcome you with open arms with a DUI. But anytime somebody wants to come up here from that, like, we just shut the border on anybody with a DUI from America. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but I think we've reached the top of the hour. We're gonna sign off here. Chris, you told me that you have like 5 things recorded that's not coming out. Do you have any plans to release anything? What do you got coming out?
Nothing's no like official release dates, but there will be something for sure. 2023 early. Yeah, I'm just trying to put it together. What it's gonna be, but yeah, there'll be something out there.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah,
hell yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
Thanks for bringing the beers. And I've had a piece of toast today, so now I'm feeling great.
Good.
And we're signing off.
Peace.